And Nicholas, you'd be surprised by how this place has developed. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's been neat to see over the past couple of years how it's improved year by year. Hello, everyone who is joining us. I don't think we have too many viewers because it's a Sunday afternoon, but we're nevertheless doing one of our car tours, because we have a special opportunity this weekend. This weekend would have been the Couple Beach Concours d'Elegance near Owen Sound in Ontario, the 8th annual Couple Beach Concours d'Elegance, but unfortunately it's been canceled or put off to next year due to the pandemic. However, we still have a live feed to Couple Beach, and we do have some cars out there on the green. So that's why we're hosting a special car tours on a Sunday instead of the usual Thursday. I'm your host for this installment, Nick Marinese. I'm the features editor at Driving.ca, and our guest this weekend is Rob McLeese, who's the chair of the Couple Beach Concours d'Elegance. So thank you very much, Rob, for your time and for showing us your car today. And your car, I'll let you introduce it because you're a lot more familiar with it than I am. But tell us what you got behind there.
Nicholas, thanks very much for including me in your live stream. Behind me is a 1931 McLaughlin-Buick Roadster Series Model 64. And what's unique about it is it was built in Canada. And even more unique is this particular car was assembled in Regina when General Motors had an assembly plant in Saskatchewan for about 3 years in the early 30s. This car has been owned by 3 owners. The initial owner were 2 ladies from Rosedale in Toronto who owned it for about 30 years. Then they sold it to a gentleman by the name of Mr. Gordon B. Wilson of Aurora, and also known as Wilson Niblett Motors, who became the top Corvette dealer in Canada for several years. And then Mr. Wilson kindly sold this car to us 2 years ago. Now, what's a little bit unique about this car is this car was used to drive my brother-in-law from his wedding to his wedding reception in 1975. And then again, one of our best friends, Mr. Jeffrey Brown, in 1979, from his wedding to his wedding reception.
Nice.
So this car has been sort of around the family for a long time, and we're just thrilled to own it.
Nice.
Rosemary McLeese is a great-granddaughter of George McLaughlin, who is Sam's brother and partner in the formation of General Motors Canada in 1918. And so again, it has another family affiliation there, and we're thrilled. So that's basically the quick story.
Fantastic. Yeah, I was going to ask about the family ties because I guess that is a big deal for yourself and for Rosemary. And also I was going to ask about the restoration. The car obviously looks fantastic, and from what I understand, it's just come off restoration. There's even a family connection with who did it and how it was done. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, you know what, Nicholas, it's kind of fun because the car was restored by a gentleman by the name of Peter Fawcett Motors in Whitby, Ontario. And Peter's an expert at restoring pre-war vehicles. And the interesting thing is, Mr. Gordon B. Wilson in the early 60s had the car restored when it was roughly 30 years old. And at that time, it was restored by a wonderful gentleman by the name of Ron Fawcett, also of Fawcett Motors, who happens to be Peter's dad. So how cool is this? We're keeping it in the family all the way around.
Nice. So the restoration was completed just recently, or? It
was completed in August. So it was ready just in time for this year's Concours.
Oh, fantastic. What was the condition of the car before you guys started the restoration? What was it like?
You know what? It had sat at Wilson Niblett Motors for about 30 years. And it had sat, part of the car had sat in the sun. So the paint was bubbled and cracked. The rubber was cracked. The top was stained. And so the car, I was optimistic that the car could easily just be restarted, put some oil in the engine and crank it over. And so Mr. Wilson said, "You got a steal." When we got the car. Well, of course, that steal turned into a check and another check and another check and another check. And I had to take the checkbook out of my wife's hands because she was going to kill me. So, as you know, restoring a car is not for the faint of heart, and it's a long process, but it's pretty neat when it ends up like this. I mean, you have a piece of jewelry here that is a really special piece. And we're very lucky for us to have a person, an artist like Peter, and with the knowledge that he has in his shop, his partner Art, they really did a phenomenal job of restoring this car.
Fantastic. Now, it is a car tour. I don't know if you can, but is it possible for you to kind of show us some of the features of the car and some of your favorite kind of elements?
Sure. Let's go and take a quick look at the, we'll go to the front of the car first. And one of the things that makes this car unique is if you look at the little insignia here, and you look closely, you'll notice that it says McLaughlin. A normal Buick has the same rod with the same square and a Buick, but this one has McLaughlin on it, which identified the Canadian cars as opposed to the American cars. And it also has Canada down at the bottom. So that's kind of fun. That's a little unique. You could put different types of hood ornaments on this car. This was the first year of the straight 8. So the 8 actually is symbolic because it was the first year of the straight 8. As the car starts to go faster, the radiator louvers will open up.
Nice.
You could have, as some of the options, you could put different lighting packages on. This is a very simple lighting package. I wanted it to be simple. I think it's quite elegant as it is. And obviously you had the crank starter. And as Peter quickly warned me, he said, don't even go there. Take this out. But he said, if you ever try and crank it, that's how you'll break your arm.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's beautiful what they've done. And they polished everything. They all redid all the chrome. They made everything look wonderful. But he said, don't try and start it yourself that way. You're better off to bump start these things. So as you can see, they've redone the brakes, they've redone the frame, everything. Peter did a full restoration, and he was very smart because when we started early on, I said, well, Peter, let's just, we'll tart this up, we'll make it run, and we'll make it a nice car. And he said, Rob, you want the outside to look good? And I said, yes. He said, when you finish, if you haven't done the frame, you're going to be very unhappy with yourself because it's very expensive to pull a car apart again to do the frame. But he said, if you're going to go to all that effort up top, you want to make sure the bottom is fully restored so that it'll last a long time. It'll be resilient. So anyway, we're very lucky. The way he's done this car, it's now, these are the colors from a 1931 Buick. It's a navy blue with the gray trim and then the yellow pinstriping, which happens to match the wheel color. The black fenders, that was very typical of a Buick, 1931 Buick. The canvas top, you could have gone with a black top or brown. I happen to like the brown, but we went with the black interior just to offset it a bit.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, he's done it. And as you can see, this is the original wood, the original oak.
Oh, wow. Fantastic.
Really, they did a lovely job. We were lucky. The car was in good enough shape that they were able to restore and keep all of the original floorboards. They had not rotted, which is quite unusual for a car of this vintage. One of my favorite features of these cars, the golf door. This is the golf bag door. And as you can see, I've put some of my personal things in there, but it's a lot of fun. You can throw stuff in, and obviously as a rumble seat, a car with a rumble seat.
Oh, fantastic.
And so people would climb up. And here you go, you get into your rumble seat, and you can fit 2 people comfortably, and they love it, and they wave, and it's just fun to be back there.
I've seen some photos. You've got the kids and the grandkids in the rumble seat back there. What's their reaction to that usually riding back there?
You know what? They just love it. And then they see people waving at them, and they start waving, and it's great fun. It's really
great.
One of the other features of this car, which I can't help, because it's a dark car, it shows every little bit of dust. So if you see me dusting, that's just what I do. This is as you know, this is the luggage rack. And with some of these cars, one of the options was to chrome the luggage rack. Now this car didn't have a chromed luggage rack, but I actually like it in the black. And you see these are the places that the straps would hold the trunk down.
Right.
There used to be a steamer type trunk sitting back here, and that's why in a car today, our trunk is called a trunk because it used to be the trunk that sat at the back that held all your extra luggage.
Right. That's fantastic.
No, Peter's done a phenomenal job on this thing. And somebody said to me, well, what's the matter? You couldn't afford the other turning signal? These cars don't have turning signals. That's the stop light and the backup light.
Yep. So I guess driving it, you have to get used to your hand signals for left turns and
Very
right.
much so. You have to remember when you were riding a bicycle when you were a kid. Okay, left, right, stop. You don't have to do that one. You only have to remember left and right.
Wow. I don't know if it's possible. Can you show us under the hood what you've got there for an engine and for a drivetrain?
I'm going to start you over on this side first. It's not nearly as heavy as with some of the big cars of this era, where the hood is really an exercise to get up. But as you can see, Peter.
Oh, nice.
Car when it was delivered, and it really is. By the way, I said it initially that when Mr. Wilson sold me the car, I thought I was just going to throw some oil in the engine, turn it over, and away we go. I was wrong. Everything was absolutely seized.
Oh, geez.
So he had to go through. 4 of the cylinders were totally seized. He cleaned them all up. He rebored each cylinder. The car just purrs now. It's really a delight to run, to start. And,
Fantastic.
And look at it. It's very pretty. And Jeffrey McLeese, I have a special guest here. Jeffrey McLeese, who is my right hand. He loves this car. He just drove it today for me with our respective wives in the back seat with his daughter, his new little daughter. Little Gracie in the back. And this is a family affair. It's great fun. It's great to have Jeffrey here. He and I play cars together, which is great fun.
I guess I can ask both of you then, what's the driving experience like behind the wheel? How is it, I mean, a lot of people don't have experience with pre-war cars. How does it differ from a modern car?
I would say the biggest thing is the steering. Without power steering, we take that so much for granted now. It's so tough to drive, but once you get it going, it's a lot of fun.
Hey, Bob, come on over here. Yeah. Nicholas, we have Bob Becker here. We have a special guest today. Hello.
Oh, there we go. Hello.
The 1940 Packard Darren with the Darren doors over there.
The Darren Dip.
Darren Dip doors.
Fantastic.
So anyway, as you know, that's what happens when you get to Concours Day. You get some of our Concours stalwarts, and it's just great because Bob has helped us every single year. It's been phenomenal, the support, and we so miss not being able to hold the Concours today, but it would have been irresponsible for us to do and not the right thing. So hopefully next year we'll be able to be back into it.
Right.
So
yeah,
we're just looking at the engine right now, and Bob's coming over because this is his first real life view of the car. Of course, I've shown him pictures. I guess I should show you. Nicholas, do you want to see the other side of the engine?
Sure, fantastic. Yeah.
Okay. Looks great, Rob. Isn't that fun?
That's running really well for me.
Yeah, we're very lucky. I mean, Peter did a phenomenal job, as he always does.
Can you tell us a little bit about the specs of that engine? Just
Yeah, what's the horsepower on that?
Horsepower on this thing is about 80 horsepower.
oh wow, nice.
And it's the standard model that year was around 60. Because this is a straight 8, first year of the straight 8, it was a little more horsepower. And it's roughly the same engine that went in the model 94, which is the dual, it's not a dual cowl, but it's a Phaeton. It's a longer, it's 6 inches longer. It has a back seat to it instead of a rumble seat. But this engine, we had to redo the carburetor, and this whole area was rebuilt, but it's working out really well. Here's the horn. it's a still relatively simple engine. It's nice and clean. Knock on wood, it doesn't leak.
Yep.
Didn't take long boys to get in there, did it? Anyway, the interior of this car has also been redone. It's a pretty simple interior. I should probably get rid of my special rags. Yeah, thanks. But as you can see, and Nicholas, I don't know if you can see this inside. The dashboard is nice. They redid the dashboard. They did the pinstriping.
Just gorgeous.
Yeah, you gotta keep it clean.
Isn't that fun?
That's just fantastic. I was going to ask another question, but before I do, we have one from a viewer. I don't know if you can do this or not, but he was asking if it's possible to start it up so we can hear the sound of that 388. Excellent.
Sure. Give it a little choke.
Like what happens on Concours.
For any viewers watching this, I'll let people know that I have. There it goes.
What? It's a secret. You have to turn the ignition from off to on.
I was just going to tell our viewers that having owned a similar car myself, the startup process is a little bit different than a modern car. It's not just turning the key and going. It's a little more involved. So there we go. That's gorgeous. Oh, I love that sound. That was just amazing. My God. So smooth. Can you give us the sound of the horn? Is that? There we go. That is just great.
Isn't that fun?
Fantastic. We have a viewer comment. He's mentioning that the gauges are works of art. It really is fantastic in there. That's got to be just beautiful just to drive down the road and look at those gauges and hear that purring engine.
And it does purr. Do you want me to drive it? Nicholas, do you want me to drive it around the circle?
Sure, you can do that. Yeah, that'd be great. I think this will be a car tour first. I don't think we've ever had a car moving on the car tour. We usually go around the car. This time the car's going to go around us. That's fantastic. There we go. Look at it in motion. Oh, man. If you're just joining us, this is Nicholas Marinez. We're here with Rob McLeese, and that's his 1931 McLaughlin-Buick Roadster. He's out of the Cobble Beach Golf Club near Owen Sound, Ontario. Driving that gorgeous car. This weekend would have been the Concours d'Elegance, the 8th annual Cobble Beach Concours d'Elegance, where he would have debuted this car. But of course, due to the pandemic, they're putting off the show till next year. But he's still having a little get together there with some of his cars and some other previous entrance cars. But today we're doing a car tour of this beautiful 1931 McLaughlin-Buick. Oh, that's just fantastic.
There, coming over back to Nicholas.
That's just beautiful to see.
How much fun is that?
It's gorgeous to see it in motion. That's just fantastic.
Well, I figured you might get a kick out of that, and having the circle here allows us some flexibility.
Yeah, I was going to ask. You mentioned obviously the family ties and the family history with the car, and also buying it from Mr. Wilson. Did you have to track down the car in order to purchase it from him and to buy it, or did you already keep tabs on it for most of its life?
No. Nicholas, you'll love this story, given you know our history. The fun part about this car is that people had asked me, being the chair of a concours, what car would you like to buy? What would be your next car? And I always loved the classics, the old cars, the war cars, but I could never settle on one car over another because I get so excited with all of them. And then when Mr. Wilson's son, Gordon C. Wilson, who's a friend of ours and a fellow who knows of our love of these cars. In fact, I took Gord C. to Pebble last year with me. When his dad said, I think it's time, Gordy, to sell the car. Do you think anybody in the family would like it? The family all looked at each other. There are 5 kids, and they decided, no, they didn't want the car because it's more difficult to deal with than a traditional car. And so Gord C. Wilson said, you know what? Rob and Rosemary might actually be interested in this car. So Gordon Sr. said, well, why don't you call them and see if they're interested? So sure enough, Gordy phoned, and we said, yeah, that would be kind of neat. That would be interesting because of the family connections. And it turns out this particular car was one of 36 Buicks in Sam McLaughlin's circular driveway at Parkwood, Oshawa, back at Sam's 90th birthday. And Sam had to pick his favorite Buick out of that collection of cars. And out of the 36 cars, this is the one he picked as his favorite.
Wow.
So again, that has another little bit of special significance to us. And
that's fantastic.
yeah, it really, and it kind of cements the family connection for us. And it's kind of neat to have a little piece of history there and something that's as much fun and will bring a lot of joy. Those rumble seats are just great. So, and we're actually going to do, Nicholas, you're going to get a kick out of this, but we're going to do a little bit of a spoof ceremony today because we were supposed to have the concours. And normally we would have a best in show and a most elegant pre-war, most elegant post-war, and we can't do it this year. We're going to do a little bit of a spoof ceremony on the concours stage. And fortunately, I didn't really want to win a concours, but if I'm ever going to win one, this would be the one I want to win. But my car would never be good enough to win because there's so many wonderful cars out there. But for us, this is special. And since we're the only true car in the concours this year, since there's no other ones, and we're lucky that some of our friends showed up today, like Bob Becker with the 1940 Packard and Scott St. Clair with the 1966 Corvette Stingray, 427 cubic inch, 425 horsepower. So we're going to actually have a best in show on the stage, and then we're going to have the best in show, most elegant pre-war, most elegant post-war, and put the 3 cars up the way we would normally do to a little bit celebrate our concours tradition, even though we weren't able to have the full concours.
That's just fantastic. I just gonna, before I continue, we have another viewer question. Jonathan's asking, what's your favorite detail about the car? If you had to pick one detail, what would be your favorite?
You know what? I happen personally, I'm obviously biased, but I like the McLaughlin-Buick insignia with the Canada. I like the fact, and one of the things that's different about Canadian Buicks versus American Buicks at that time is Sam McLaughlin was a real showman. He was a marketer, and he wanted the Canadian Buicks to always be fresh and pretty, and so he put a little more pizzazz into them. So for me, the fact that the insignia has McLaughlin, Buick, and Canada, it's just, when you see that, you'll know it's a Canadian car.
Fantastic. Yeah, I can tell it's a beautiful day out there, and so I don't want to keep you too much longer. But yeah, thank you so much for having us and for giving us a tour of this McLaughlin Buick.
Well, Nicholas, thank you so much. It's great to talk with you again, and as you know, we always have fun playing cars together, and so thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm assuming, of course, next year, if the pandemic's cleared up, we'll have a 2021 Cobble Beach Concours d'Elegance, and we can look forward to that. We're
hoping so. We got our fingers crossed.
Excellent. Well, I'm hoping to come back, of course, as I have been every year, except for this one. But yeah, well, I'm sure I'll see you before then sometime, Rob. But thank you very much again for your time, and I'll let you guys get to your ceremony. And congratulations on having Best in Show this year.
And listen, thanks so much, Nicholas, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
Excellent. Have a good one.
Take care. Bye bye.